headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador. This is From the South, and I am Sonia Gray. After 20 hours of debate and discord with rubber bullets and tear gas filling the air outside, Argentina's lower house has approved the budget for 2019. The voting began at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, and the result was confirmed after 6 a.m. this Thursday. 130 voted in favor and 38 against. Tens of thousands had protested outside Congress against the budget. They said it involves huge cuts and was imposed by the International Monetary Fund.
The voting is 130 affirmative, 38 negative, and there have been 8 abstentions. The result is in favor. The next step is the upper house.
The protest met with a fierce response from the police. At least 31 demonstrators were arrested. Telesur's own journalists were caught up in the violence, and a camera person was struck by a rubber bullet.
Amid what has been called a brutal suppression and a strong opposition from various groups, the officialism achieved quorum to be in the budget adjustment issued by the IMF.
If this budget is implemented, what will prevail is poverty, exclusion, social inequality, closing of hospitals. That is why we tell the politicians, you weren't elected to surrender. You have to rise up, because the working people are on the streets demanding an end to repression. We are asking for this budget adjustment to be struck down.
Just like the darkest time in Argentina, the police force beat up citizens who were peacefully demonstrating. They tried to infiltrate political and social movements and hold them accountable for the rioting.
The police and intelligence services are trying to deny the people their right to protest in front of the Congress. It doesn't matter who's presiding over this session today.
Analysts warn that with the budgetary allocation to pay the interest of foreign debt, Macri's dominance over the most vulnerable will only get worse next year.
The main thing is that they are approving a budget that goes against Argentine people. It is a 400 billion cut that will negatively affect healthcare, education, workers' salary, public works, and all this will result in more unemployment.
Amid massive layoffs and extreme rate hikes, this budget cut proposed by the Macri's government will only serve to deepen discontent among Argentinians.
There is an exponential growth in the payment of foreign debt interests. There is also concern about the peso devaluation and the flight of capital. This is why it is important to protest, because even if the National Congress manages to approve the proposed fiscal measures, it will be a political defeat because the majority of the country is opposed to that budget.
Despite the bullets and the tear gas, Argentinians will continue to take action on the outskirts of the Congress, because they know that if the budget becomes law, the impact on society will be devastating.
Demonstrators in Chile were also suppressed as they demanded the government eliminate the pension system inherited from the military dictatorship. Our correspondent in Santiago, Thierry Valenzuela, has the details.
People are protesting in Chile against the system that managed the workers' pensions. The current system was set up by the dictatorship and until today uses the pension fund to invest in international markets. But as people protested, police detained the leader and spokesperson of the social movement opposing the system, Luis Messina. Sources say Messina was taken in a police car and is now in a clinic being treated for several injuries he suffered as he was being arrested. Several demonstrations have been reported around the country as President Sebastián Piñera hopes to pass a system of reforms that will capitalize on workers. The reforms are aimed to increase taxes in 40% to workers, funds that they will allocate to the system that manages workers' pensions. Social movements are hoping to meet with the president to propose a system in which workers, companies and state collaborate so that workers can access a fair pension. In Chile, more than 60% of pensions don't reach the minimum wage, and most of the retirees have to work in order to survive. We will keep you informed.
A trial date has been set for a former Barbados government minister accused of money laundering. The former head of commerce, Donville Innes, is now scheduled to appear before a U.S. federal court on June 24th next year. The prosecutor alleges that Innes used his position to accept bribes to help an insurance company secure 2 Barbadian government contracts. he could face up to 20 years in jail. And in Brazil, as the campaign comes to end, presidential candidate Fernando Haddad is expressing confidence ahead of Sunday's polls. Thousands of supporters rallied for the Workers' Party candidate in Sao Paulo, chanting, "Haddad, yes." Haddad sent a message to his political rival. He says, in the end, the people will have the final say. So he's not fazed by the latest polls showing that Bolsonaro could clinch victory.
He will discover that today it is probable, but tomorrow it will only be possible. He will discover on Saturday that things have heated up, trouble is brewing, and on Sunday he will discover that he lost.
If Bolsonaro wins, I have a lot more to lose. All of us women, everyone, all minorities will lose if Bolsonaro wins. I am here for democracy.
And Brazil's former president Lula da Silva is demanding an end to fascism. He made the impassioned plea in a letter he sent from prison, in which he also praises the presidential hopeful Fernando Haddad. Lula says Haddad symbolizes the survival of democracy in Brazil. The former leader is serving a 12-year prison term. It is no secret that the far-right presidential candidate Jair Bolsonaro is hostile to social movements, which he has accused of stealing Brazil's resources. Many see him as a threat to democracy because of his sexist, homophobic, racist, and authoritarian comments. We bring you more in our special series, Bolsonaro or Haddad, two opposite projects for Brazil.
The destinies of close to 150 million Brazilians truly rests within their own hands. Liberal Social Party candidate Jair Bolsonaro strongly backs the use of anti-terror laws against social movements. He has also made it clear that he will not condone any form of social activism. On the other hand, Workers' Party candidate Fernando Haddad promises to introduce new agrarian and urban reforms. He also guarantees equal representation of all people. Bolsonaro's supporters agree with his proposed suppression of social movements.
There has to be better regulations, because we can't continue like this. Invasions carried out by these groups are wrong. Anyone who chooses to invade another person's private property is wrong. That is simple level.
In a video message, Bolsonaro said he would wipe off the map persons he described as red criminals. He was referring to social and labor organizations. Political analysts warn that the relationship between Bolsonaro and the business elite could have a serious impact on workers' rights.
São os empresários que estão financiando as fake news.
Businessmen are financing fake news. They are essentially enabling the dismantling of labor rights, and that is why they consider Bolsonaro a strong ally. He is a candidate without limits. He will persecute his opponents. He will silence human rights activists. He will persecute any worker who will try to defend his rights.
She was a political prisoner during the Brazilian civil-military dictatorship. Now Solange José walks the streets of Rio de Janeiro, rallying support for Fernando Haddad, and to let people know the threat that Bolsonaro represents.
The Brazilian people do not know how severe a dictatorship is. I experienced it firsthand. I know what is it, and that's why I am out here. I have been part of the teachers' union for 20 years. I had to quit my job because I needed brain surgery. This was because of the injuries I sustained from being repeatedly struck in the head during the military dictatorship.
Voters have seen and heard the hateful messages Bolsonaro has sent his opponents. In addition to his son's threat to close the Supreme Court, now the destinies of millions of Brazilians truly rests within their own hands.
We'll take a short break now. More news in a minute.
We are always there tracking the news. We seek equality. We defend the truth. It's a hard job, but we are not alone. We count on a new ally.
Welcome back. The migrant caravan continues on its way towards Mexico's northern border. On Wednesday, the main body of the caravan set off from Mazatepec in the state of Chiapas.
To avoid the extreme heat, migrants in the caravan resumed their journey early in the morning. At about 3:30 in the afternoon, the group filled up one lane of the Pan-American highway that will take them from village to village until the town of Arriaga. Some of them are already trying to reach the border with the United States before.
It's been a long time since I have been in El Salvador. I was deported from the United States and I decided to migrate again with all these people in the caravan.
People get more tired as the days pass by. They haven't slept and they eat whatever people give them in solidarity.
I give them tacos or whatever I have at home. It is food from my shop. It is the only thing I have to help them out.
People in the caravan face a lot of risks, but they keep moving forward.
It was very hard to pass through Guatemala because I almost got raped. A guy who passed by protected my friend and I with a knife. My friend went back to Honduras because she was really scared.
The Mexican Secretariat of Domestic Affairs says 110 Honduran citizens resigned to their asylum application and have asked to be taken to their home country.
And as people struggle to cross from Guatemala into Mexico, the flow of migrants isn't stopping. After seeing how far the first caravan has advanced, hundreds more have started their own journey from Honduras.
This is the second caravan of Honduran migrants that has entered Guatemala in the past week. Their goal is to catch up and join the first caravan. They said they have decided to start their way to the U.S. despite attempts by Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernández to close the border.
The other caravan is waiting for us to join them. We are waiting in Zacapa for yet another group that's behind us. There are around 12,000 people. We are only 5,000 people, so we are going to try to get everyone together.
On the road from the department of Chiquimula to Guatemala City, migrants are asking drivers to take them. Even police are taking them in their vehicles. Many of them are exhausted from the long road. How long have you been traveling?
We have already walked for 7 days. We are very tired, but we are being joined by God. He is helping us.
In this second caravan, more families have fled Honduras together. Children and newborn babies travel along with their parents. They say they are not afraid of what can happen at the border of the United States, but no matter what, they will not return to their country.
The president will stay alone with his country. We do not want to go back there.
Have you left your family and friends?
Yes, but we have to keep going forward.
People in the caravan say there are even more people coming behind them, despite the announcement by the president of a plan to return them home safely. A plan no one seems to be interested in.
Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has called the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence a crazy extremist over his migrant caravan accusation. Maduro dismissed Pence's claim that the group was financed by Venezuela. He fired back at Pence during a meeting broadcast on state television.
The man said that the caravan was being financed by Venezuela, by President Nicolas Maduro, and that they intend to put the United States' defense and security to the test. I don't know why. I have a tremendous power to summon, right, in Central America. Mike Pence? If it weren't an extremist saying it, a crazy extremist like Mike Pence, and the danger that this means for my own personal security, who has already been the subject of an open public attack and the security of the country, one would only laugh at this. The first thing it provokes is laughter, and the second is worry, because of the imperialist paranoia has begun by accusing President Maduro and Venezuela of whatever occurs to them.
Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez has also responded to the accusation by the U.S. that Cuba is organizing and financing the caravan of migrants.
Yesterday's accusation in a tweet of the U.S. mission to the United Nations that Cuba organizes and finances the caravan of migrants that is moving through Central America looking for a better future is laughable.
During that press conference, the Cuban foreign minister also criticized the U.S. for planning to extend the blockade on the island. Rodriguez said the U.S. permanent mission in the UN has launched a series of amendments to the resolution that condemns the blockade. The vote is expected on October 31st.
The repeated statements of the United States against Cuba have a goal, and that is to increase tensions between the two countries. The United States wants to defend, with the help of any tools, generally illegal and immoral ones, its behavior over the sanctions against Cuba.
Peru's opposition leader Keiko Fujimori has attended a court hearing over a prosecutor's demand to put her in a preventative detention for 36 months. Peru's prosecutor Jose Domingo Perez has accused the Popular Force Party leader of money laundering. He said Keiko created a corruption network to receive millions of dollars for her party from the Brazilian construction giant Odebrecht. Last week, she was released after spending a week in prison. The court will resume again on Thursday. Ecuador's defense minister is hailing the success of the U.S. Navy hospital ship that recently arrived in Esmeraldas. But some patients complained that they weren't able to access the medical care they so desperately needed.
This is Carmen. She's one of many residents desperately in need of medical assistance. Carmen suffers with painful varicose veins in her legs and was told she urgently requires surgery. Sadly, her medical insurance does not cover this type of treatment at public hospitals. So when she heard about the ship's arrival, she wasted little time in seeking help. However, she was met with disappointment.
This is a joke. We have been here since 7 o'clock yesterday and we have been told that there is only dental medicine. It is not right that they have deceived us like this, in this town where some of us are literally at death's door.
Several citizens told a similar story. Some were upset about having to endure an hour-long wait for medical attention, with the scorching heat of the sun bearing down on them. They say they feel as though they were being insulted by the Defense Ministry at the United States Embassy.
They lied to us. After 2 weeks of $1 million promotions promising that this hospital ship was going to be the long-awaited help we need. However, it has failed to deliver. Only the relatives of the authorities and persons close to them seem to be getting attention.
They said they were bringing specialists from the United States. We believed that they would have been able to provide us with good medication. However, look how they have treated us. This is a mockery.
The visit of the U.S. Comfort ship is part of an international cooperation agreement between the United States and Ecuador. The vessel's medical team says it is expected to attend to over 700 patients a day and carry out about 20 surgeries on board. Ecuador's defense minister attempted to address the people's concern.
The international cooperation with the United States is of great importance. We assured that the medical team would see patients over the next few days, all those that need urgent medical attention, so Colm can return to Esmeraldas.
Despite the government's claims of success, some citizens say Esmeralda continues to be one of the most neglected provinces in the country. Denise Herrera, Telesur, Ecuador.
Sao Paulo Fashion Week has celebrated diversity with style and flair. This year, the largest fashion showcase in Latin America has the title Transposition. 4 new labels made their debut at the show, and both the organizers and designers used the occasion to call for unity ahead of Sunday's presidential election. Time for the second break of this newscast. World News is next.
We are present at every event where our nations are staring. We believe in a new global vision, united in every broadcasting. we keep expanding our horizons and working on a closer and better communication. Now, in Grenada, Telesur, the news source from South America and the Caribbean.
Super Typhoon U2 has devastated the U.S. territories of the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam. Homes were flattened when heavy rains and gale-force winds battered the islands. Within 24 hours, the storm had strengthened into the equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane. U2 is now tracking towards the Philippines and Taiwan. The Saudi Arabian Prince Mohammed bin Salman has vowed to bring the murderers of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi to justice. This is the prince's first public appearance since Khashoggi's murder was confirmed on Saudi state TV. The official word from the kingdom on the sequence of events leading up to Khashoggi's disappearance has changed numerous times. In the meantime, the head of the CIA, Gina Haspel, reportedly heard the audio tapes of Khashoggi's murder during her trip to Turkey.
First of all, the crime was really painful to all Saudis, and I believe it is painful to every human in the world. It is a heinous crime that cannot be justified. Today, Saudi Arabia is carrying out all legal things to finalize the investigation, to cooperate with the Turkish government, and to present the perpetrators to the court and take their judgment. This is the expected thing that all governments would do once they see a crime. Undoubtedly, the cooperation today between the Saudi and Turkish government is unique. And we know that many are trying to use this painful thing to drive a wedge between Saudi Arabia and Turkey.
At least 19 people have been killed in Yemen in airstrikes launched by the Saudi-led coalition. The airstrikes hit a vegetable market in the province of Al-Hudaydah. Another 6 persons were injured during the attack. Pakistan is about to seek an International Monetary Fund bailout on top of a $6 billion support package from Saudi Arabia. The country faces a balance of payment crisis.
We got an excellent package from Saudi Arabia, and because of that, we expect that event, if we get a loan from IMF, it won't be such a big burden on us. By the will of Allah, I will give you more good news in the coming days. We're also talking to 2 more countries, and by the will of Allah, we expect a similar package from them.
The former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak and his top treasury official have been charged with criminal breach of trust. The charges link the misuse of close to $1.6 billion of government funds. They are the latest in a major crackdown on corruption. The 2 pleaded not guilty to a combined total of 12 counts of corruption. Renewed ethnic clashes in Somalia's autonomous region of Somaliland have left more than 50 people dead. A local official said 120 others were injured in fighting between the different clans. Somalia's President Mohamed Farmajo has described the fighting as unfortunate and has called for a ceasefire. 2 people have died in a supermarket shooting in the United States. A male suspect killed a man inside a store and then a woman in the parking lot. The gunman fled the scene in his car but was taken into custody shortly thereafter. The shooting appears to have been racially motivated. Madrid has banned the use of electric scooters on sideways in a bid to improve pedestrian safety. Some scooters can reach speeds of 60 kilometers per hour. Electric scooters will now have to be used on the street at half of that speed race. And in some sporting news, Trinidad and Tobago's Dwayne Bravo has announced his retirement from international cricket. Bravo, who is one of the world's top all-rounders, made his debut for the West Indies 14 years ago. He says he feels that at this point, he should leave the international arena for the next generation of players. However, Bravo's professional cricketing career is not entirely over. The champion will only play domestic games. He might spend some of his retirement on his music. We've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website, thalessiatv.net/English. And for viewers in Africa, remember you can find us on Starsat Channel 461 in South Africa and Channel 539 in Nigeria. Everyone can join us on social media, though. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Thalessia English, I'm Suni Gray. Thank you for watching.